So what I was just talking about were the different cultures you can find in different institutions. Cultures being a set of shared beliefs, values, behaviors, and the like. And we all know that countries have different cultures, regions within countries have different cultures, families have their own cultures, institutions where we work, and everywhere there are gender issues. It doesn't matter whether it's your family, your job, or your country. And there are different cultural styles that work, different places. And I really want to take the time to talk about it because now with the internet, we are so lucky. You want to find out what life is like in a part of the world, you can look it up. And as women, we check. You know, if somebody invites you for dinner, you usually say, is it formal? What should I wear? We ask so we know how to fit in. That's a cultural style. I know in America, the preferred cultural style is polite suggestion. Emotional outbursts are frowned upon. A know-it-all attitude just doesn't work. And then I want to contrast some of things I've read in my experiences. In the book called Dragonfly, it talks about the crisis aboard the Mir space station. And there was a time when NASA and what was then the Soviet space program were negotiating some joint cooperation with regard to the space station. And the only part of the book I underlined was this section that after some meetings, the Americans were ready to pack up and leave. They just thought nothing was going to happen. And they're walking to dinner, and one of the Russians says, "Oh, good meeting. We really got something accomplished." And the Americans, who were brought up in their own management style, said, "Wow, they take us seriously only after we yell and scream. If we did that at home, you'd be kicked out." So different styles, different countries. That doesn't mean you have to act that way, but be prepared to know what can work there versus here. I had an unfortunate experience with a colleague who happened to be Serbian, and we were in a meeting in Washington about something. And the people in the meeting, there were congressional staffers, said something, and my Serbian friend just went, "No, you are wrong." And I thought, oh, great. Because they could be wrong. She could be right. But the method where she used for her communications was like, okay, you could see their eyes just glaze, they stopped listening. And so, the style meant more than the substance, and it can have very deleterious effects. I have good friends who are Croatian, and when their kids went to the old country for the first time, they were freaked out. They said, "Oh, my people in what was then Yugoslavia, they stand so close together. I just can't stand it." And they're always yelling. No, they're not yelling, they just speak in a different style and volume. But it was so completely different. And we all know there are taboos, and in some countries, behavioral styles can have different impacts. In many Muslim countries, it's not a good idea for a woman to look straight into the eyes of a man, unless that's what you intend to do, but know it before you're going to do it. So it's always fun. In other words, and you all know this, in preparation for meetings, it's so important to learn about the style of the other side. And I believe in reading history and biography because that shows you how people through the ages have acted to succeed and what they've learned from their failures. And we've got 3,000 years of recorded history on these kinds of things. It's like a resource at our fingertips. So women leaders, we have the unique challenge of recognizing the goals to be accomplished, leadership, influencing others to help us accomplish those goals. We act in a variety of cultural layers, and we've got this gender thing that makes either an excuse or a benefit, never really neutral. But I like to think that women, I like the quote I have up there, the difficult we do immediately, the impossible just takes a little more time. If we learn cultural norms, we also know that breaking those norms does carry risk, but taking risk is what we do. And I do enjoy reading Margaret Thatcher's Downing Street years, where she talks about liking a style of management that was very different from what the boys liked. And she lasted 10 years, which was an exceptionally long time, but I think ultimately maybe some of the things that brought her down were that she had irritated the boys too long and too publicly. So just to repeat some of the things I've learned that have helped me and some of the things I wish I knew when I started, but you never really know them until you've failed and picked yourself up, is people cannot read your mind, so communicate, communicate, communicate. Don't assume people understand the words you use the same way. When I was in Russia, I would talk to my team and tell them, here's what I want, and bullet point 1, bullet point 2, and they would say, yes, yes. And a week later, nothing happened. And I said, but we talked. And you said yes. And it was like, oh, it was really yes, you understood my words. Yes, you heard me. Or yes, you agreed to do what I asked you to do. So yes had a whole different variety of meanings. And you always had to go back and say, now, what we agreed to do is the following, yes or no? I've learned the hardest thing is to admit a mistake, but once you get used to admitting them, you can drop them, take something with you, and move on. And don't wait to be asked. I think another thing good leaders do is they see opportunities and they take action. In the social media environment, there's so much benefit to giving something first and for free. PayPal and Dropbox are great models where you can get free internet storage, or PayPal was the first year they didn't charge for their services to banks or other credit cards. They gave it away, and once the market realized how useful this was, it was like, oh, of course we'll pay. You can't take this away. We're used to it. It's great. And we always have to remember that volunteering means you're giving, and someday you will get back in ways you cannot define. What goes around comes around. And I'm going to speed this up because I do want to finish. One of the things I think women are often accused of is, or burdened with, is a sense of perfectionism. And I know there are typos in this presentation, and you know what? I follow Pareto's principle. He was a 19th century Italian economist, and it's kind of the 80-20 rule. 20% of your efforts lead to 80% of your results. And if you focus 80% of your attention on the 20% of the things that are really important, you will get done what you need to get done. Delacroix, a great French artist, said, if an artist seeks perfection in everything, the artist cannot attain anything. So to get things done, you don't have to be perfect. In fact, you know, where I come from in my philosophy, only God is perfect, so give up on that. 80-20 is a really good average. Are there secrets to success? General Colin Powell, a very respected current leader in the United States, says there are no secrets. It's the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. And then I read a Japanese proverb. How about success? Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Pasteur tells us that chance or luck will favor the prepared mind, which goes back to the leadership characteristic, know your stuff, be an expert, keep preparing. One of my favorites is from St. Catherine of Siena. To a brave man, good luck and bad luck are like his right and left hand. You just use both and don't complain. And then expectations again, Michelangelo. The greatest danger for all of us is not that we try to go too high and fail, but that we set our aim too low and achieve it. I want to share with you one more thing. I have maybe 20 friends that I surveyed who are all Serbian. 2 of us were born in the United States. The other 18 are from here, but live in the United States. And they cover a variety of professions. They're all very successful. And they all gave me a nugget of what they could share. Keep a sense of humor. It's tough enough being a woman in the professions. Be supportive of other women professionals. We've heard this all morning, so I don't think it's just a theme, it's like a Jungian archetype at this group. You have to support your sisters and have goals, be succinct, even take care of your health. I mean, believe in yourself, do what you can, and things will be great. Or as great as you can make them, because if you don't try, there'll be nothing. And who are some of the leaders in the world who inspire our Serbian American friends? One of them said Peter the Great for his vision. Two others referred to Gandhi and Mother Teresa for their persistence in the face of tremendous difficulties. For spirituality, they look to Serbian archetypical women, Knjeginja Milica and Jefimija. They look to Tesla for his great imagination and hard work. They look to Madonna, the singer, not the mother of God, for playfulness. One of my friends said, you know, my grandmother from Bosnia, she taught herself to read because her father said women don't need an education. She read every book in her village, and she educated her children and grandchildren to become lawyers and doctors, both in Serbia and abroad. And another one of my friends who lives in Washington, and people there tend to go to Monticello, she likes Thomas Jefferson for being a Renaissance man. Although I think, you know, there are many Renaissance women who juggle many things. So that's some of my thoughts, and I want to conclude with my biggest inspiration I find is that the older I get, the smarter my parents become, and those are my inspirations. Thank you very much. We started late, we ended later. I don't know if anyone wants to do Q&A for any of our panelists, or just to be really realistic, you can find us afterward or tomorrow and you can be free.